Item 10, conduct of business. Our first item is item A, accept a resignation of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board Director and consider appointment of director to fill a vacancy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight we have a three-part staff report regarding a vacancy and potential appointment to the Foundation Board. So as you know from the staff report, board member and treasurer Ben Cohn is resigning. His family is moving out of town. So our three-part report tonight will consist of the following. I'll make a couple of comments about the Foundation's bylaws and the procedures relating to the appointment process. The city manager, part two, will provide some background and discuss the subcommittee process that occurred prior to tonight's meeting. And then part three, the Foundation representatives who are here in the audience will discuss what their interests are with respect to the appointment. So as indicated in the staff report, the Foundation bylaws say that the City Council makes appointments to the Foundation Board, and that's including in the event of a vacancy, which is what we have in this case. Any appointment would be for the remainder of the term, which in board member Cohn's case would expire at the end of next year. The bylaws, however, don't specify any particular process for appointment. The bylaws, however, do include term limits, which is different than the city's other boards and commissions. So as you might recall, there are 4 4-year terms corresponding with the 4 officers that the City Council initially appointed, including the treasurer position that Mr. Cohn is vacating. And those positions, those board appointments expire at the end of next year, and they would all be eligible to be reappointed if you wished. And then you'll also remember that there are 3 2-year terms, and those 2-year terms you recently reappointed for 4 years, so those expire at the end of 2019, and then those individuals would not be eligible for reappointment after that. So one other comment about the procedure is that while the City Council appoints the directors to the Foundation, it's the Foundation Board who selects their own officers subject to the City Council's approval process, and that's what you've done over the last number of years. So in this case, the outgoing board member, it happens to be the treasurer, and after the city manager's comments next, you'll hear from the Foundation about its interests in the appointment that the full board, so that the full board can consider that individual, perhaps a treasurer, as treasurer when it does select its officers for the upcoming year. So with that brief introduction, we'll move to the city manager's comments and then to the Foundation.
Great. Thank you. As the attorney indicated, per the City Council's approved bylaws for the formation of the Foundation, the City Council initially appointed 7 members to the original board of the Foundation upon the City Council's establishment of the Foundation in 2013. At that time, the City Council directed that staff prepare and distribute a letter that was mailed to every postal address in San Bruno to solicit and to encourage applications. 82 persons from the community and around responded by applying. Applicants represented a broad cross-section of the community. Those applications were reviewed by expert advisors that we were working with at the time from the Silicon Valley Foundation, by staff, and by the City Council. As a result of that review, the City Council selected 12 individuals for interview and ultimately appointed 7 of those persons. As the attorney indicated, 4 for an initial 4-year term and board officer positions, and 3 to initial 2-year terms. I believe the City Council is well informed about the activities of the Foundation over the last 3 years. And I also think you can be rightfully proud of the progress your appointees and their staff have done to make the Foundation a vital and contributing force within our community, as is their mission. In particular, the Foundation has recently taken custody of the $70 million in restitution funds, developed its investment strategy, and begun grant making for the long-term benefit of the entire San Bruno community. In conjunction with these efforts, the Foundation has worked hard to establish itself as a capable, not-for-profit board, and that's no easy trick. It turns out it's a very unique and very precise construct with which we, as city staff, had very little expertise. With the resignation of Director Cohn, the foundation has identified an interest and an opportunity for the person appointed to the pending vacancy to possess some expertise in finance and investment to provide technical support to the board's oversight of its investment of the restitution proceeds. And as I believe the executive director will comment, having board members who have technical expertise that they can contribute to the operation of a not-for-profit entity such as this foundation is very standard. Board representatives and the executive director recently discussed this interest with the City Council subcommittee and a companion interest of the foundation that the vacancy be filled expediently so as to avoid delay in the board's current aggressive work program. In order to advance these interests, the board representatives also suggested that the City Council could consider appointment of Tim Ross, an investment advisory professional who was an applicant in 2013 and who has recently attended board committee meetings where investment advice, advisory, and strategy conversations have occurred. In response, the subcommittee requested staff to review all 82 of the 2013 applications to identify those applicants with investment and finance experience. I don't remember the exact number, but upon that review, there were about 10 or 12 individuals that staff segregated into two categories. One that demonstrated some amount of professional finance expertise, that being mostly in the areas of accounting, tax preparation, and a more some level of banking experience. There were another category of individuals, and there were 3 individuals in particular who stood out as having high-level financial and, in particular, investment type of expertise. One of those was Mr. Ross. One of them was Tony Clifford, who is an individual who has recently taken on responsibilities as a public member on the investment committee that has been recently formed by the foundation. And the third was Christina's son, who, as it turns out, is a professional with the firm that the foundation has actually hired to do its investment management services. So we've made good use of the individuals who expressed interest in the 2013 solicitation. The subcommittee carefully reviewed those applications and is recommending tonight that Mr. Ross be appointed to the current vacancy. This process is somewhat different than the City Council the proposed process is somewhat different than the City Council has typically used, and it is somewhat different than the process that you used in making the original appointments to the foundation board, although it is, as I have, I think, outlined, very consistent with that process and with the City Council's previously articulated interest in taking advantage of the interest and the initiative that those individuals demonstrated in making their applications in 2013. Just a little bit about Mr. Ross before I ask Leslie Hadamia to provide any comments from the foundation's perspective. Mr. Ross is currently a vice president at First Republic Private Wealth Management. He has over 11 additional years of finance and investment experience as director of research at Constellation Wealth Advisors and as an investment management analyst at City Family Office. He has a Bachelor of Science degree from Stanford University and is a chartered financial analyst. Mr. Ross is actually, has actually been interviewed by the City Council and has served for 3 years as a member of our Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, where he has contributed well and demonstrated a collegial relationship with the people he works with in that committee. Mr. Ross has identified the availability that he possesses to serve in this capacity should the City Council wish to proceed in this direction. And before I turn over the commentary to Ms. Hadamiya, I would simply identify that the City Council has this as a recommendation coming from the subcommittee, but has, as the City Attorney mentioned earlier, no set practice or procedure for making appointments to the board. And this being the first unexpected or unscheduled vacancy, you have a broad range of choices, and it's subject to your deliberation about how you would like to proceed. So with that, I'll ask Leslie to make any additional comments.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm Leslie Hadamiya, the Executive Director of the San Bruno Community Foundation, and with me tonight is also our Board President, Nancy Krause, who you appointed. Thank you for the opportunity to address you on this important topic tonight. As you know, the Foundation has come a long way since the Council first appointed the Board of Directors in late 2013. We are now a fully functioning nonprofit organization. We've launched several program initiatives, and just a few months ago, we took possession of the $70 million in restitution funds. I hope you all received in the mail your copy of our annual report, which we sent out a couple of weeks ago to all San Bruno addresses, highlighting our accomplishments and activities. The 7 directors the Council appointed in 2013 have played an instrumental role in bringing the Foundation to this point. And as the Executive Director, I am personally grateful for all of their contributions. We are very sad to be losing the services of Treasurer Ben Cohn, but we wish him and his family the best as they embark on a new chapter in the East Bay. While we hate to lose Ben, we see this opening as an opportunity to bolster the board's experience and expertise in investments and finance. And that is why we have asked the Council to give primary consideration in filling the open board slot to candidates with significant professional experience in investments and finance. Now that the Foundation has possession of the restitution funds, it is critical to fulfilling our role as stewards of those funds to have some board expertise in this area. We take our responsibility of safeguarding the funds very seriously. Yes, we have hired an investment firm to manage our investment portfolio, but we need internal expertise to manage and evaluate them. In my experience, when a nonprofit has a significant investment portfolio, like the Foundation now has, the board typically has professional investment experience among its ranks. If you review the boards of the Silicon Valley Community Foundation or the San Francisco Foundation, as just 2 examples, you would find a number of board members with significant investment and finance experience, such as investment bankers and those working in venture capital, private equity, and investment advisory firms. At the last nonprofit I led, it was critical for me to have at least one board member who could lead the board's investment oversight efforts, help guide board discussions, and otherwise assist me in making sure that the board fulfills its fiduciary responsibilities. The other directors can rely on that person for guidance in the investment area. I don't currently have such a person on the Foundation board, and while we do have several investment professionals on our investment committee, the board itself would be strengthened with this expertise. I should add that in the nonprofit world, it is typical for an organization to seek out specific skill sets, expertise, perspectives, connections, and the like so that the board collectively can best support the organization and its mission. That may mean making sure you have some folks with marketing expertise on the board or folks with subject matter expertise pertinent to that organization's focus. It may mean having folks with legal experience on the board, and especially for organizations with an investment portfolio, having investment professionals on the board. In fact, for most nonprofits, the board typically recruits board members to fulfill specific needs. It is less common for a board to put out an open call for appointments to the board. Unlike the composition of the City Council, where each of you came to your position through individual election, nonprofit boards are, more often than not, intentionally assembled so that different people bring different strengths to the table. It's important to note that the foundation is at a different place than where it was 3 years ago when the council first made appointments to the board, and our needs have thus changed. I should also add that the need for certain skill sets on the board is even more important at a leanly staffed organization like our foundation. I don't have a CIO, a Chief Investment Officer, who would be a professional staff member in charge of this area like larger foundations do. We've been careful to minimize our administrative costs by operating leanly in order to maximize the funds we are able to deploy out in the community. I rely heavily on the board, and going forward, now that we have possession of the restitution funds, I need the investment expertise on the board to help me manage this investment function. A few words on timing. Ben is resigned effective October 1st as his family anticipates moving in October. But as a favor to the foundation, he is willing to stay on through the end of the calendar year as needed if a replacement has not been appointed by that date. As you know, Ben serves as our treasurer, and our treasurer serves as chair of the investment committee. Our officer elections for 2017 will take place at our November 2nd board meeting. As a result, in terms of timing, we've asked the council to move expeditiously in filling the vacancy so that the new director, assuming he or she has investment experience, would be in place prior to the November board meeting in time to be considered for election to treasurer by the full board. We also want to be sensitive to Ben's needs and his desire to roll off at the beginning of October. I hope this helps you understand why we have requested that the council move swiftly in appointing a replacement for Ben and in focusing on candidates with professional investment and finance backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
That
Any questions
concludes our
for,
staff report.
Oh, I'm sorry. We all done? Okay, good. All right, any questions for staff or of the foundation? Anyone?
I got
Marty?
it. Sure. First of all, thank you for all your hard work. There's no doubt you have a compelling argument. You have a qualified candidate waiting in the wings. My concern is simple. The rest of the public, there might be some amazing person out there with similar experience that just hasn't had an opportunity to even try. It seems there's enough time with our interviews on the 27th for the other vacancies to kind of throw in another one. With your elections on the 2nd, it would meet it. So that's what my concern is, basically. It seems like this person's perfect, but it is excluding the public an opportunity to give it a shot. So my concern is with the exclusion.
Anyone else? Ken?
I can understand the vice mayor's argument, but the community foundation has been open to the public, and this candidate has chosen, unlike anybody else, to come forward and be engaged. And he has, from what I've heard, he has attended meetings, so he knows what's going on. He's not someone that they've handpicked to say come and sit in or something. He has shown interest, and he's the public. And to delay things, I just don't want the foundation to skip a beat here. And I believe they know who this person is. They do have, I mean, and not to, don't discredit any of the members of that board. There is a lot of experience, and there is financial experience on that board right now, and so they'll embrace anyone that comes in, even though they'll have financial experience. But I just think that this is something that we need to move swiftly on. And who knows what's going to happen if you start opening it up to the community. They've had their chance. The community and everyone that has had maybe any expertise in finances has had their chance to engage the community foundation, and it seems as though they haven't. And if there had been, maybe they might have been approached also. But I think Mr. Ross has shown his interest and shown his expertise, and I think he should be given a chance.
Anyone else? Rico?
Chair, the argument is compelling. Mr. Ross sounds extremely qualified. I do believe that the vacancy should be filled by a professional person who has investment background and knowledge. I believe it should be expedited. I believe it needs to be done before November, as you've asked. Mr. Cohen, I know, is willing to go through December, but shouldn't have to. He needs to embark upon his new chapter and journey. We went out in 2013, so we've maybe not had folks that attended the meetings, but we've probably had new residents to our community. My concern also is about not allowing the opportunity for the residents to be engaged. As we did a listening campaign because we wanted to get out there and hear from folks. You send out the newsletters because we want to make sure everybody's up to date on what's going on. I believe that it should be opened up to only those that meet a specified criteria for the professional investment and those opportunities that the board is asking for, and I think is legitimately a good point and a good idea. I think that it would be on the role of the city to take the ball and run with it and to get it done. To the Vice Mayor's point about on the 27th, I would say that probably is not enough time to go through this. You almost maybe have to have it by itself. And you may not, and I don't believe that it needs to go out to every home again. I don't believe it needs to go out in a broad-based. It just needs to go out, and I think that everybody still feels this is a part of San Bruno, and it's a community effort from the start when it began through today. So that is my concern as well, is not about the individual that the subcommittee wishes us to select, but just on the opportunity for others.
Okay. Irene, anything?
I'm of two minds. We did do a very thorough discussion and search of all the different applications that were done in 2013, and Mr. Ross is highly qualified and has shown a consistent interest in the foundation and has followed everything that they have been doing. I understand about new people coming into the community, but they're new people and don't know the community as well as Mr. Ross does. So while I appreciate that, those people would have an opportunity to apply at a later date when we have new, when the other terms come to their end, and then we will have 6 months or a year even to advertise for those, for people to apply for those. So this is a 15-month term. I'm not comfortable having someone new come in to fulfill 15 months of work, and especially right now when you guys are really starting out, and as Leslie said, you need the expertise, and he knows what's going on. So I think we can do, in 10 months or however much you want to, we can advertise again for people who have that expertise, and other people can apply. But I think right now we would be well served, and the community would be well served, and the foundation would be well served if we appoint Mr. Ross.
Thank you. And just my 2 cents as part of the subcommittee, we did our due diligence. The foundation did their due diligence, and this is a little different than commissions, boards, and committees where you're asking interested people to get involved in your community. We're looking for very specific qualifications here. We happen to have an individual that interviewed with us before, and I recall when, as we do with boards and commissions and committees, when we spoke to the individuals that were not selected, we encouraged them to keep in mind that we would still keep their names because they had certain expertise that we may need going forward. This, Mr. Ross fits the bill to a T, and I don't see any reason at all to delay the appointment of Mr. Ross. Would
Mr.
someone-
Mayor, when you say the delay, I don't think the council's delayed. I got an email on Friday about this and 3 potential candidates. Now there's one that's come forward. So as far as I think the council, there's not.
No,
it's
what
not
I
been a
referred
delay.
to is going through the whole process again would be quite a delay, and it's pretty cumbersome. So anyway, would someone like to make that motion?
I move we appoint Mr. Ross.
I'll second.
Motion is second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, we got Mr. Ross. Thank you.
Good luck.
For the record, with the understanding that the vote for a no is not a reflection of Mr. Ross.
Absolutely
It's-
not.
It's the process. It's that I believe we could do this appointment in an expedited manner, but I will go along, obviously, with what the council has voted for.
Thank you.
Yes. Wish Mr. Ross and the entire board good luck
Good.
and continue the good work.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
annual report. It was, it's really something to look at. I'm glad the whole city got a chance to see it.